Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. When my wife first brought up the idea of an open marriage, I thought she was joking. We had been together for almost 12 years, and though our relationship had its share of ups and downs, I never imagined she'd actually want to involve other people. I remember the night clearly. We were sitting on the couch after dinner, a glass of wine in her hand, and a distant look in her eyes. "Don't you ever feel like we've missed out?" she asked softly. I frowned, unsure what she meant. "Missed out on what?" She shrugged, staring into her glass as if it held the answers. On other experiences, other people. We got together so young, and sometimes I wonder if we really got to live before settling down. Her words hit me like a quiet storm. Not loud, but powerful enough to unsettle me deeply. I didn't know what to say. She'd always been adventurous, but this was different. This wasn't about a vacation or trying a new restaurant. This was about our marriage, the foundation of everything we built. At first, I tried to laugh it off. "You mean like dating other people?" She looked at me, her expression serious. "Maybe, just to explore, to see if we're still happy with what we have." That night, I didn't sleep much. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing through memories, our first date, our wedding, the quiet mornings with coffee, and the laughter that once came easily. Was she really unhappy? Had I missed the signs? Over the next few days, she kept bringing it up, gently but persistently. She said she wanted to be honest, to try something modern that would help us grow individually. She talked about trust and freedom, about how love shouldn't feel like ownership. Her arguments sounded polished, maybe even rehearsed, as if she'd already made up her mind long before she told me. I resisted for a while. I told her that marriage was about commitment, that we had built a life together, one that shouldn't be risked for curiosity. But the more she talked, the more she made me feel like I was the one standing in the way of her happiness. Eventually, I gave in, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't want to lose her. She assured me it would only make us stronger, that it was just about experiencing new things and not about replacing each other. She said we'd have rules, boundaries, and complete honesty. I agreed. At first, it felt strange, even wrong. I couldn't imagine being with someone else. But she seemed excited, lighter. She started going out more, dressing up, texting people late at night. I tried not to ask questions, though the silence between us grew heavier. I could feel her slipping away, even as she claimed this experiment was supposed to bring us closer. Then one day, I met her, someone who would completely change the way I saw everything. Her name was Clara. I met her through mutual friends at a small gathering. She wasn't trying too hard to impress anyone. No flashy makeup or forced laughter. Just a calm, genuine smile and eyes that felt like they could see right through all my confusion. We talked that night for hours about music, books, life, and everything in between. I hadn't felt that kind of connection in years. It wasn't about attraction at first. It was about peace. I told her about my situation, that my wife and I had opened our marriage. She didn't judge me. She just listened quietly, then said, "That must be really hard for you." Her empathy hit me harder than I expected. She didn't try to fix me or flirt. She just understood. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen, not as someone's husband or a man trying to hold his marriage together, but as a person who still had feelings, fears, and needs. We started meeting for coffee, then dinners, then long walks where we talked about everything under the sun. Slowly, our connection deepened. I didn't mean for it to happen, but one evening when she reached out to hold my hand, I didn't pull away. Being with Clara felt natural, effortless in a way that love should be but often isn't. She didn't make me feel like I was competing for attention or proving my worth. She simply appreciated me. Meanwhile, things at home grew more distant. My wife was often out with someone new, a guy named Mark. I later found out. She'd come home late, smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine, and her excuses grew weaker with time. I didn't say much. I just observed. It was strange. While she was exploring what she called freedom, I was rediscovering what love actually felt like. The guilt hit me sometimes, especially when I saw her smile at her phone or hum while getting ready for another date night. I wondered if she ever thought about how this was affecting me. But deep down, I knew she didn't. She was chasing something she thought would make her happy. And ironically, by letting her chase it, I found someone who reminded me what real happiness felt like. Clara never pressured me to choose her or to leave my wife. She respected the situation, but she also helped me see how emotionally starved I'd become. I had spent years trying to be a good husband, supportive, patient, forgiving, and somewhere in the process, I had forgotten to take care of myself. One evening, as we sat by the lake, the sun dipping below the horizon, Clara said softly, "You don't have to stay where you're not valued. Sometimes love means letting go, even if it hurts." Those words echoed in my mind for days. At home, the silence grew unbearable. My wife and I barely spoke unless it was about something practical, bills, schedules, or dinner plans. The laughter that once filled our home had vanished, replaced by the sound of two people pretending everything was fine. Then one night, she came home early and saw a message pop up on my phone. It was from Clara, a simple text. "Hope you're doing okay today." Her expression changed instantly. "Who's Clara?" she asked, her voice sharp. I froze. For a second, I didn't know how to answer. The irony of it all hit me. She was the one who wanted this, the one who opened our marriage. Yet now, the idea of me being emotionally close to someone else suddenly bothered her. "She's someone I've been seeing," I said calmly, "just like you've been seeing Mark." Her eyes widened with disbelief. "That's different," she snapped. "How?" I asked quietly. She couldn't answer. For the first time, she seemed to realize that what she wanted wasn't freedom. It was control. She wanted to experience others without losing what she had with me. But the truth was, once you open that door, you can't control what walks through it. Over the next few days, she tried to act normal, but I could tell she was uneasy. She began asking more questions about Clara, try to find flaws, try to convince herself that it was just a fling. But it wasn't. It was something real, something built on mutual respect and emotional connection, not just desire. And deep down, I think she sensed that. I didn't gloat or throw it in her face. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace, something I hadn't felt in years. By the end of that week, the tension between us was impossible to ignore. One evening, she sat down across from me at the dining table, tears forming in her eyes. "I think we made a mistake," she whispered. I looked at her for a long time, unsure what to say. Part of me had been waiting to hear those words, but another part of me realized it might be too late. "Maybe we did," I said finally, "but some mistakes can't be undone." Her tears fell freely now, and I could feel the weight of everything that had happened pressing down between us. In trying to find excitement, she had lost what truly mattered. And in trying to keep her, I had found someone who showed me what love was supposed to feel like. That night, I lay awake again, just like the first time she brought up the idea of an open marriage. Only this time, I wasn't filled with confusion. I was filled with clarity. Something inside me had shifted, and I knew that whatever happened next would change our lives forever. The morning after that emotional conversation, the house felt painfully quiet. My wife tried to act normal, making coffee, flipping through her phone, asking if I had eaten, but her voice trembled slightly, betraying her unease. I could tell she wanted to talk, but neither of us knew how to start. For years, we had danced around our problems, pretending they'd fix themselves. But this time, there was no pretending left. What had once been love now felt like a long shadow stretching between us, familiar but cold. Later that afternoon, she broke the silence. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, standing in the doorway. I nodded. We sat on the couch, the same spot where she'd first suggested opening our marriage. The irony wasn't lost on me. "I miss us," she began, her voice trembling. "I thought opening things would bring us closer, but it just pushed us apart. I don't even recognize who we become." I studied her face. For the first time in months, she looked like the woman I fell in love with, vulnerable, honest, stripped of all the confidence she had worn like armor. But I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest or the distance that had grown between us. "Why now?" I asked quietly. You were the one who wanted this. You said we needed to explore, to find ourselves. So, why do you suddenly want to end? She took a deep breath, tears glistening in her eyes. Because I didn't expect you to actually find someone who made you happy. There was the truth she had been avoiding. She had wanted freedom for herself, but security for me. She wanted to test the limits of love without facing the consequences. I thought I could handle it, she admitted. I thought I could separate emotions from everything else. But when I saw her message, it hit me. I can't. I can't stand the thought of losing you. Her voice cracked, and she covered her face with her hands. I didn't rush to comfort her, not out of cruelty, but because I was exhausted emotionally and mentally. For months, I had been holding the pieces of our marriage together while she explored her desires. Now that she realized what she'd lost, she wanted to rebuild. But she didn't understand how deeply the foundation had already crumbled. You didn't lose me because of Clara, I said slowly. You lost me when you stopped caring how your choices affected us. She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. Please, don't say that. I can fix this. We can fix this. I'll end everything with Mark. I'll do whatever it takes. Her desperation should have moved me, but it didn't. I had waited for her to fight for us months ago, before she decided to find herself with someone else. Now, it just felt like too little, too late. Do you even know what you want? I asked. I want you, she whispered, reaching for my hand. I want us. I don't care about anyone else anymore. I let her hold my hand, but my heart felt distant. I had once prayed for this moment, for her to realize my worth. But now that it was here, I didn't feel relief. I felt pity. That night, after she went to bed, I sat outside on the porch, my mind racing. The air was cool, the stars quiet witnesses to my turmoil. I thought about Clara, her gentle smile, her understanding nature, the peace I felt whenever I was with her. I hadn't told her about the recent tension at home. I didn't want to burden her, but I missed her deeply. The next day, I met Clara at our usual cafe. She smiled when she saw me, but I could tell something was on her mind. You look tired, she said softly. It's been a long week. I admitted. She knows about us now. Clara didn't look surprised. She nodded slowly, stirring her coffee. And how did she take it? She's begging me to stay. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Clara met my eyes, her expression calm but sad. And what do you want? That question lingered like a weight on my chest. What did I want? I loved my wife once. Maybe a part of me always would. But love isn't enough when trust is gone, when respect fades, when the bond that held two people together is broken beyond repair. I want peace, I said finally. I want something real. Clara smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. Then you already know your answer. We sat there quietly for a while, the silence between us heavy but understanding. When I left, she hugged me tightly, not possessively, but with quiet strength. Whatever you decide, I just hope you choose what's right for you, she whispered. When I returned home that evening, my wife was waiting at the table with dinner. Candles lit, the same meal she used to make when we first got married. It felt like a memory she was trying to revive, but it only reminded me how much time had changed us. I canceled my dates, she said, forcing a smile. I'm done with that life. I want us to start over. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. Please, just give me another chance. Her eyes pleaded for forgiveness, for hope. I sat across from her, silent for a long time. Do you remember when you first brought up the open marriage? I asked. She nodded slowly, shame flickering in her eyes. I didn't agree because I wanted to. I continued. I agreed because I was afraid of losing you. I thought if I gave you what you wanted, maybe you'd see how much I loved you. But all it did was show me how little you loved me back. She tried to protest, but I raised a hand gently. I'm not angry anymore, I said softly. I just can't go back to pretending that things are fine. We can't rebuild trust on broken promises. Tears filled her eyes. So what does this mean? It means I'm letting you go. The words felt heavy, but they carried a strange sense of peace. She broke down completely, her sobs filling the quiet room. "Please don't do this," she cried. "I made a mistake. I thought I wanted freedom, but it was you. It was always you." I wanted to comfort her, but I knew that staying would only trap us both in the same cycle of pain. I had already lost myself once trying to save her. I couldn't do it again. "I know," I said gently, "and that's why I'm forgiving you. But forgiveness doesn't always mean staying." She covered her face, unable to stop crying. I stood up, took a deep breath, and walked to the bedroom to pack a few things. Every item I folded carried a memory, both beautiful and painful. Before I left, I paused by the door and looked back at her one last time. "I hope one day you find the happiness you were looking for," I said quietly. Then I walked out. The next few weeks were a blur. My wife called several times, sending long messages filled with apologies, promises, and regrets. But I didn't respond. I needed space, for her and for myself. Clara gave me that space. She didn't push or demand answers. She simply checked in occasionally, reminding me she was there if I needed to talk. It was that quiet patience that slowly began to heal me. A month later, I met her at the same lake where we'd once sat watching the sunset. She smiled when she saw me. "You look lighter," she said softly. "I feel lighter," I admitted. I finally made peace with everything. We stood there for a moment, watching the golden light shimmer across the water. I realized that sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. My wife had wanted freedom, and in giving it to her, I found my own. I took Clara's hand, feeling her warmth and calm energy. She wasn't a replacement or a rebound. She was someone who had reminded me what respect, honesty, and kindness felt like. As the wind rustled to the trees, I thought about everything that happened, the betrayal, the pain, the confusion, and realized that it had all led me here, to clarity, to peace, to someone who understood me without pretense. My wife had begged me to stay, but what she really wanted was to undo the past, and that was something neither of us could do. Love, I learned, isn't about ownership or control. It's about choice. And for the first time in a long while, I was finally choosing myself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara leaned her head on my shoulder. I felt a quiet contentment, not the wild rush of passion or the desperate need to prove anything, but the steady calm of knowing I was where I was meant to be. And somewhere deep inside, I hoped my wife would one day find that same peace, the kind that comes not from chasing new experiences, but from finally understanding what it means to value what you already have. Because in the end, that's what love truly is. Not about how many people you can have, but how deeply you can love the one who stands beside you when everything else fades.